So I have a theory that I want to test out. My air conditioner is blowing warm when it sits idle for a long time. And I also have a bad thermostat, so my engine is running cold. And I do believe the cooling fan for the engine and the condenser on the AC are the same. So I'm thinking this isn't getting hot enough, it's not kicking in that cooling fan, and then my condenser is getting hot, and that's why it's running hot at idle. So I've noticed that the air conditioner cools off real good once the cooling fan kicks in, but it runs the air conditioner hot for a little bit before it actually kicks it in. Doesn't stay cold for very long before it shuts the fan off, and then it's hot again. So I have a feeling it's my thermostat that's causing it, because my engine's running cold and it's not kicking that fan on. So I'm going to change the thermostat and see what happens. So replacing the thermostat. It is back here behind all this. So this is the thermostat housing here. There's 3 bolts. There's one there, one down there, and then one in the back that they put in a very bad place. So we need to figure out how to get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the battery and the battery housing here first. Then we're going to remove the 2 hoses, unplug the sensor, and take the 3 bolts out to get to it. Gonna try that. Let's see what happens. So your battery's probably going to be under this cover. You got a tab here you lift up to unhook that. Got a 10mm bolt down here to hold the strap on. Got a 10mm for that thing. So this, you don't want to put any stress on that terminal, so hold on to the wires. There we go. So this battery terminal here is not what the car came with. I installed this one and added some stuff because I needed to add a wire that went bad, and this is a 1/2 inch that handle doesn't feel very strong, but it worked. My battery box actually should have had a bolt and nut right there. That's missing, but so that just leaves these 2 bolts down here to take out in order to get the battery box out. These are also 10mm. Try not to yank on any wires. Let's take these bolts out so we don't lose them. So before you go cracking anything open on the cooling system, you need to make sure your vehicle is completely cooled down, because there could be pressure on the system if it's not. You can crack the lid on the fluid reservoir over there, just to make sure there's no pressure on that, but that's not going to guarantee there's no pressure on the rest of the system. My car has been sitting overnight, so I know the cooling system is completely cooled off. Kind of show you, I was able to get an 8mm socket onto it right there. I had to mainly do it by just feel. You can see the extension between the sensor and that main hose there, and that's kind of how I gauged where I was at and just kind of felt where I was at in order to get it on there. So I got it on there, and hopefully this works to get it off. I don't know if you have to drain anything or not. I'm going to try it without draining and see what happens. I put a catch pan down there at the bottom, as you can see, to catch any dribbles or just straight up drain from the engine. So alright, that's the hard one to get to, and then the other two bolts are just right up on the front here. There you can see the water's coming out. Whoa! A lot more water than I was expecting. So I am going to have to remove that bolt. Man, that is just pouring out now. And it's almost done. So before we get anything broke loose, we should remove this sensor cable right there. I'm going to be pushing down right here to get it to release and then pull back. It's going to be hard to show you this and do it at the same time. It's unplugged. There we go. There we go. That's how it came out. And to get these broke loose, you probably need to twist them to kind of break the seal on the hose, because they kind of create themselves a little seal with that deposit from the radiator fluid. This one's a bit harder. You can use a pair of pliers and then grab onto the housing and try to twist it that way to get it kind of broke free of the hose. There we go. Just twist it. There we go. Now I should be able to pull it off. Yep. Now these specific clamps that were on it with the there goes more water. Let's try to stop that. Hold it up. But these specific clamps that are on here, those clamps right there, usually only good for one try, I've noticed, and they'll leak if you try to use them again, so I'm going to have to go to hose clamps now. Anyway, there's our housing. It's kind of filthy in there. I'm going to replace this seal because it's right there around the edge. It looks like it's been leaking. Alright, thermostat housing's out. I'm going to see if I can get the sensor off before I do anything with the water, because I'd like to soak it in the water, but we'll see. So this has a little clip up for the sensor. It comes off, and I assume it unscrews now. Oh, it just pulls out. So there's your sensor. Hopefully the seal on that's still good. We'll find out. Okay, so now I'm going to soak it. I'll go ahead and pop this seal out right here, this O-ring. I don't know if you can see it that well, but it's right there. Stuck in there pretty good. I got a new one. There we go. Got a nasty O-ring off of there. Alright. O-ring is out, and there's another O-ring up here. There. It's out. Scrape off some of this other gunk. Now I'll go rinse it off and start putting the new O-rings in and slap her back in. Oh, here's the new O-ring kit that I got. It is a 3564. It's only like 95 cents at AutoZone. Then you got your two O-rings that we took out. Just gonna put them back in, basically. Pretty straightforward. So you got your one that fits in the big slot, and the one that goes in the little one. And that should do it. So you might be shaking this and it rattles. You're wondering, what is that noise? Well, there's a little ball check valve there on that line that's making the rattle. So let's go ahead and put our sensor back in. Goes like that. And then the way this is set up, I should be able to turn this at any point because it's just a clip. Yeah, I can just turn it if I need to. Hopefully the seal on this sensor is still good. Putting the thermostat in the housing. So there's these grooves in the thermostat housing. You want to make sure these tabs go on, and that's it. Just make sure it's that way, and you're done with this part. Now we're going to remove those squeeze hose clamps and put on these kind of pipe clamps. So the mating surface for the thermostat housing looks nasty. It just looks awful. It looks rusted. It's got buildup on it. So let's see what we can get off of the rag. Really don't want to put anything metal to it and risk of scoring the surface. This is bad. So I found this hard plastic scraper on the back of my wire brush. I thought it might actually help to get this gunk off. So I'm still unhappy with the way the surface of this engine side of the thermostat housing looks. So I got this razor scraper. Gonna try to do this without scarring the surface of the engine side here. Really didn't want to have to use something like this, but it's pretty bad still.
Alright, still not the prettiest, but I'm much more happy with that. Let's get this thing put back on. I want to start by putting this hose on back here. Okay, now with this back hose on and clamped down, I'm going to go ahead and put the bolt on for the back of the thermostat housing. Thermostat housing bolts are the same size. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on at this point and then try to get it started. Set the bolt in the hole. There we go. Didn't get it. There we go. So I was able to kind of see what was going on, and I know you probably weren't. But I put the bolt in the thermostat housing, put the wrench on the bolt, or the socket I mean on the bolt, and then got the screw started before putting the housing up to the engine. So now the back bolt is actually a little snug. Okay, I got all the bolts flush with the engine. Now torque them down. Unplug sensor back in. Where did the sensor go? It's just here. There it is. Okay. Let's get the big hose on and the little hose on, and then put the clamp on that we changed out. Tighten those down. Ouch. Battery box. See if the cover will fit. I don't know what the hang up is here. There we go. Got it. So there's no radiator cap. I'm hoping I can do all my filling through here. I know about how much I lost, so I'm going to kind of see what goes in. Run the engine for a little bit. Just real quick, and then shut it off and then fill it back up. It looks like it did a pretty good job venting the cooling system. Put quite a bit in. So let's start it, run it for a few seconds, shut it off, and see if we need to add anything. So it's a little bit below the it's a little bit below the max line. And it dropped a very little bit, so I guess it did a fairly good job of venting the cooling system. I'm going to drive it around the block a few times, let it get hot, and see where it's at after that. Let's run it again, and this time let's look for leaks. I can see almost everything, but I do not see any drips. I'd be looking for drips under there. I don't see anything. Let's drive it around and we'll check again. So I let my car run for about 10 minutes with the air conditioner off to see if there's any drips. And there are none. It is dry. Let's take it for a drive. Drove it around for a while. The radiator fluid is down just a smidge. I still see no leaks, no drips, and we're good. Just to show you what the temperature is outside in North Fort Worth, Texas. That sun is just beating down in the car. It's been beaten down for a while. I'm going to start it and run it, and let's see if the air conditioner can cool. Alright, let's give it some time. So these are the two radiator fans, and the two cooling fans, I should say, that we're cycling off and on, but now they're just staying on, so they should be able to cool down at idle. So these are the two cooling fans for the radiator and the air conditioner intercooler. The air conditioner condenser. So the car isn't even fully warmed up yet, but the air conditioner has been running ice cold. It is doing perfect. It is running nice and cold, and the radiator fan slash condenser fan slash cooling fans, whatever you want to call them, those dual fans up front, they have not shut off yet, so they've been staying on the whole time. And I just feel like replacing that thermostat was what did the trick. I mean, it's just been sitting here at idle. I haven't been running the car at all. The fans have been running the whole time, up the cooling fans up there, and it's cooling off and staying cold, but it is hot. It is hot outside, but the car in here is cooling off and staying cold. So it's a little weird that the thermostat
keep the cooling fans from running constantly, but there we go. So I went ahead and let the car warm up all the way, and it's still blowing out ice cold. Let me show you. 62 degrees, 61. So yeah, that's pretty good considering it's 94 degrees out there.